Hi, my name is Lady, and I read the Google for Startups Black Founders Fund report, so you didn't have to, but you should still read it because it's insightful. But just in case you don't have time to read 51 pages, I did it. I actually did it, and I made some notes. I jotted some things down, and I would like to share those things with you guys if that's all right. Yeah? Let's go. Let's get into it. So the research has three components to it. Firstly, it's a comprehensive benchmark on diversity in tech startups and scale-ups in Europe and Africa. I am going to focus on their Africa data for most of this video simply because it's Girl Africa and I'm African, so duh. Secondly, it describes the impact of the Black Founders Fund and it assesses the changes that have come about as a result of the fund. And thirdly, it examines the portfolio companies within the Black Founders Fund in three areas: leadership, growth, and their journey. I just want to start off by saying that according to the report, Africa's tech ecosystem, or the African tech ecosystem, is valued at $482 billion. Obviously, thanks to companies like Paystack, Move, Wave, InterSwitch, Flutterwave, and Chipper Cash. By the way, where is Chipper Cash? When I was researching for this video, I went on their website just to kind of see what's been going on. And I mean, they acquired a business, I think 2 years ago or a year ago. I saw some updates. They've done some organizational restructuring, moved some of their employees from the UK to the US to key African markets, which is great. It feels like they're staying low and building, but also I wonder if they have been captured by zombie robots. So if you are a Chipper Cash employee and you are okay and you are currently not under the control of a zombie robot, please blink twice. Zombie robots and Chipper Cash employees aside, let's get into some fast facts from the report. First of all, since the year 2000, I was still in high school, by the way, $2.5 billion have been invested into Black-led tech businesses and and startups in Europe and Africa. Secondly, in Africa, only 3% of all investment was made into Black founders since 2000. And by Black, the report means African or identifying as African or identifying as Black British because it's in Europe, right? Or Black plus whatever European country that they were born in or they're resident in or they're citizens of, right? It's not African versus African American. It's just Black, meaning like that's the race, right? That's what you check on the diversity form. Or you can check other and put in African if that's what you want to do. But that's what they mean by Black founders. Thirdly, VC investment in European and African tech hit $138 billion in 2021 during the pandemic. Do you guys remember the pandemic? That was a rough time for every single one of us, so let's never get back there. Now, zooming in on Africa, firstly, it's estimated that 80% of Africa's population identifies as Black. Now, of course, in Africa, we do have a population data problem. I truly do not know how many people live in Lagos, in Nigeria, and I live here. I don't know, to be honest. I just have to trust the word of the people responsible for informing me about that number. But I don't know, right? So we're just assuming that it's 80% of the number that exists right now. Secondly, there is an investment gap where equity is concerned, about $10 billion. That's the gap. Nobody is surprised, but it's still pretty shocking to see this number. And finally, the Black Founders Fund has supported over 200 European and African companies since 2021, and I'll dig a little deeper into the number of startups they've supported in Africa. According to the report, Google for Startups has a four-pronged approach to addressing issues within the European and African tech ecosystem. The first one is policy advocacy. They collaborate with policymakers to create policies that incentivize diversity in tech and also address systemic barriers like racism, sexism, generational discrimination, and the list goes on. We know what goes on in the ecosystem. Secondly is investor education. They raise awareness about biases and challenges faced by underrepresented founders. So the BFF is about the founders. Yes, they partner with investors and VCs and all of that, but they're doing those partnerships to promote their portfolio companies and founders. Thirdly is community building. Founders need support from other founders. When I had my stint as a co-founder, I was part of a founders community called Unicorn Founders. Loved it, loved it. Some really cool founders in there, some really cool entrepreneurs and operators in there. I'm no longer, obviously because I'm not a co-founder anymore, I'm no longer a part of the community, but I did get a lot of value from being in that community. Shout out to the founders of Unicorn Founders. And lastly is data collection and transparency. Africa definitely has a gap in data, right? The numbers are never really clear, right? There's a lot of research that has to go into understanding what's going on in the ecosystem and then turning that research into bite-sized insights that people will care about. I remember in Tech Cabal, when I was working at Tech Cabal, we had a small data and insights team, and they actively, daily updated a spreadsheet that was just filled with fundraisers. Every single startup that raised money from the time I was there to when I left went into that spreadsheet. So that just lets you know how manual data collection can be in the ecosystem. But there are businesses that are helping with that, like Stairs Business, like TC Insights. They're helping with getting the data that we need. Are you ready for more fast facts? Because I got them. These fast facts focus on African companies in the BFF. Firstly, collectively, they employ more than 4,000 people. Well done, because the economy is tough and people need jobs. Secondly, of the 135 companies, women represent 50% of leadership positions. A plus, A plus. Number three, the BFF highlighted some African companies in their portfolio, and I want to talk about them. The first is Fleet Simplify. I picked startups that I wasn't super familiar with. The first is Fleet Simplify, a mobility tech platform that provides gig drivers access to rental vehicles and monetizes those rental vehicles on behalf of the owners. They were accepted into the fund in 2023, based in Nairobi, Kenya, and the CEO's name is Balkis. She is a female founder. Second company is Talamus Health, headquartered in Accra, Ghana. It's a cloud-based software for healthcare providers and their patients. They drive efficiency and digitization in healthcare, and the MD's name is Dr. Muri Raifu. The third company is Jumba, also headquartered in Nairobi, Kenya, got accepted in 2023, and it's a marketplace for the construction industry. It connects retailers, suppliers, and developers. And they also help with supply chain management. The founder's name is Kagure, and the business has been operational since 2022, in Kenya. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Literally, let's talk about growth. According to the report, in the early 2000s, Nigeria barely recorded any investments, local, international. By 2021, we recorded $55 million in investments. We literally went, and that's amazing for us. 135 equity-free cash awards have been given to African startups through the BFF. There's nothing quite like equity-free funding. There's nothing quite like money that comes without equity, okay? It's just amazing. You can be like, yes, I can finally put this money into salaries without worrying about giving 2% of my business to this VC or this investor. Fintech is the highest represented sector among the BFF companies. Great. The BFF has supported 52 startups from Nigeria, 26 from Kenya, and 14 from South Africa. The BFF companies are outperforming their peers in the same growth stage, growing 61% faster over a 3-year period. It's like going to an Ivy League university. Even if you graduated bottom in your class, you are part of a prestigious alumni network and you're going to get access to the good stuff. I imagine that's what it feels like to be a part of the BFF. It's Google, for goodness sake, okay? You are going to outperform your peers, okay? They're doing their thing, but you're going to do better because you have the resources, okay? And that's fantastic. Okay, you are building a business that Google deems worthy of investment and support. That is amazing. Shout out to you. Total revenues generated by BFF companies in Africa and Europe were 2.9 or were estimated at $2.9 million. And these companies have generated over 6,000 jobs, experiencing a sevenfold increase from 902 employees recorded when the fund commenced in 2021. So from 902 to 1,000 in the space of 3 years going into 4, that is pretty great. Well done to everybody. That's growth right there. Well done to everybody involved. Towards the end of the report, or at the final few pages of the report, the BFF spotlighted 2 African countries, and I'd like to talk about them. South Africa being one of them. According to the report, VC investments saw a record high in 2021, over $1 billion in funding, according to a Tech About article, which I will link below. And in South Africa, the BFF supports 29% of their startups in health tech and 21% in fintech. A reverse, because in Nigeria, fintech definitely is the number 1 industry or sector that's supported by the BFF. In Kenya, according to the report, in 2022, investment into Black-led businesses reached over $12 million. Kenyan founders are known as the most resilient founders because when I compare the amount of money that Nigerian founders raised, again, since I joined the industry, and I know when the fintech company I worked for raised, their first seed funding, and when I compare how much money has come into Nigeria because of, founders like the ones I've worked for, and I compare that to the amount of money that has gone into Kenya, there's such a wide gap, right? But Kenyan founders continue to build, they continue to launch startups, and I'm proud of them because just because you're not getting as much foreign investment or even local investment doesn't actually mean that you shouldn't build a company. Build a company, bootstrap it, you never know what could come of it. Kenyan startups in the BFF fund have employed over 1,000 people, and their collective valuation is at $321 million. Well, that's all, folks. Thank you for watching and listening. And a big shout out to the Google for Startups Black Founders Fund for putting this report together and educating people like me who like to know information like this. I do hope you download the report. It's 51 pages, but you can get through it in under an hour, and the report is beautifully designed, so it makes the reading process a little bit easier. I will see you in my next video, which is about a fashion house. I'm actually wearing one of their designs called Zempas and Co. That video will be an edition of 10 over 10 I recommend. See you soon.